it takes the struggles, the frustration, the pressure. If you can't handle pressure sometimes, it doesn't make sense you're actually living, because life is all about the pressure and the struggle, because you can't just snap your finger and say, okay, I want to be this in life, and you be that in life.
Looking towards the future, Selena envisions opening a physical storefront for her business and expanding into other creative arrangements to cater to a wider audience.
Before 2024 finish, I would like to improve on my services. Like, I would like to expand in floral arrangements, add certain floral arrangements. I would like to add more customization, like items. I would also like to, well, it's not like to, but it's in the process right now to have a personal pre-cut machine, so I don't have to depend on a third party to do my customizations.
Need to estimate your duty? Perform a track and trace? Search for a declaration?
Then download the Jamaica Customs mobile app today. The time by the Jamaica Customs Agency is 12.
Joining us for CVM News at noon. It's Wednesday, February 11, 2026. I'm Amoy Harriet. Up first, the Clansman gang trial continued in the Supreme Court on Tuesday, with a second prosecution witness facing cross-examination. Our reporter Carla Ramdeen was in court and now reports.
The second prosecution witness took the stand today in the ongoing Clansman gang trial at the Supreme Court in downtown Kingston. The witness, an Indicom detective with over 10 years of experience. The witness said that on March 5, 2023, they received a call from the chief investigator of Team Bravo and proceeded to 56 North Avenue, Hampton Green, Spanish Town. Upon arrival, the witness observed several police vehicles parked on the premises. The witness met with the police investigator, had a brief discussion, and then walked to the back of the premises. The witness described the scene to the court, stating that they observed a hat, a bag, and spent casing on the ground. The witness recalled proceeding to Spanish Town Police Station. There, the witness was introduced to two senior officers from CTOC and took their statements. The witness was then introduced to the high-profile witness and took their statement, along with one of the accused. In court, the witness was asked to look around to identify that man. The witness identified Bjorn Thomas as the same individual encountered on the day of the incident. During cross-examination, the witness revealed that they were present at the post-mortem of the man that was killed on March 5. The witness stated that they did not observe injuries to the torso, but defense counsel suggested the witness was mistaken. The witness maintained their earlier testimony. The witness admitted that although they had possession of the post-mortem report, they had not read it in its entirety, despite nearly 3 years having passed since the incident. The witness also stated their conduct during the investigation was proper. The witness further testified that the high-profile witness's statement was taken on the day of the incident and that the high-profile witness appeared distraught. Under cross-examination, the witness was questioned about an earlier observation that the high-profile witness was seen exiting the CIB office at the Spanish Town Police Station with senior officers. Defense counsel suggested it was unusual for a civilian eyewitness to a fatal shooting to be in the same room with senior officers. The witness disagreed, stating that they had seen this happen before. Carla Ramdeen, CVM.
Police in Manchester have charged a 21-year-old businessman in connection with 3 murders committed earlier this month in the parish. Commanding officer for the Manchester Division, Superintendent Kerry Duncan, says investigators are also urging another suspect to turn himself in.
We officially charged Mr. CJ Wilson, OC CJ, a 21 years old businessman of Old England district in the parish of Manchester for 3 counts of murder. I want to take this opportunity also to urge Mr. Orain Nelson to surrender himself to the police so we can have the necessary interviews done. And make no mistake that if you fail to surrender to us by 9 a.m. Wednesday, the 11th of February 2026, then certainly we will be coming for you.
Meanwhile, police in St. James say 2 illegal firearms have been taken off the streets following a joint operation with the Jamaica Defense Force on Tuesday. Acting Operations Officer for the St. James Division, Deputy Superintendent Roger Reed, says the security forces remain committed to removing illegal weapons from communities.
The police, along with our military counterpart, embarked on an operational activity in the flanker community. We subsequently seized 2 illegal weapons which we removed from this community, one being a submachine firearm and the other a 9mm pistol. Now this brings to 8 the number of illegal weapons removed from the streets and communities within the St. James Division, and also over 150 assorted ammunition.
And the police in Westmoreland have launched an investigation into the death of a 52-year-old mentally challenged man whose body was found floating in the sea off Farm District on Tuesday night. The deceased has been identified as Mark Thorpe of Culloden District. Reports say residents spotted Thorpe's body being dragged by rough waves shortly after 7 p.m. Police were alerted and later retrieved the body, which was pronounced dead at hospital. While investigators believe Thorpe may have drowned, the presence of head injuries has raised questions, and a post-mortem examination is now awaited to determine the exact cause of death. Residents say Thorpe, who lived with a cousin, was well known in the community and that his mental condition reportedly worsened following the passage of Hurricane Melissa. The government says it's now looking to see how best to assist Jamaican students studying in Cuba who are now caught in the middle of rising tensions between Havana and Washington. More than 300 Jamaicans are pursuing studies in Cuba, including 44 on government scholarships and over 200 who are privately funded. Speaking at Wednesday's post-cabinet press briefing, Foreign Affairs Minister Kamina Johnson-Smith disclosed that the situation on the ground is already taking a toll. 13 Jamaican students have made the decision to leave Cuba and return home. Now, with travel to the island now disrupted, the minister said Jamaica has opened talks with Cuban institutions to determine the best way forward for the students. In the meantime, Telecommunications Minister and co-chair of the Relief and Recovery Oversight Committee, Darrell Vaz, is this afternoon doubling down on his defense of emergency procurement decisions he made after Hurricane Melissa, rejecting claims that he breached procurement procedures. This comes after a recent Auditor General's report which found, among other things, that millions were spent on Starlink devices that were never used. The minister, who released a statement hours after the AG report was published, has since come under heavy fire for what critics describe as a nonchalant response and a lack of accountability in the face of serious governance concerns. But speaking at Wednesday's post-cabinet press briefing, the minister again insisted he did what was practical in the face of an emergency. And we'll hear more coming out of that post-cabinet press briefing later on in CVM News at 7. Now, the UTEC Lloyd Carney Foundation Laboratory was launched on Tuesday, February 10, at the Papine campus of the University of Technology, Jamaica. The $1.1 million establishment was established under the patronage of university's Chancellor, Ambassador Lloyd Carney, the Minister of Industry, Investment, Commerce, Senator Auburn Hill, and the Prime Minister, the Most Honorable Dr. Andrew Holnest. Crystal Williams tells us more.
Jamaica will have to spend wisely over the next 10 years while increasing production and revenue as the island seeks to bounce back from the devastation brought on by Hurricane Melissa. That admonition from Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness, even as the country continues to recover from the Category 5 system. The Prime Minister is frank, challenges remain.
The challenge for the next decade is how do we increase revenues? How do we increase production? How do we increase the size of the economy? That is a discussion that we have avoided. We don't want to talk about it because somehow we believe that fiscal discipline alone is going to result in increased wages or increased employment. It is a false and dangerous notion.
Speaking at the opening of the UTEC Lloyd Carney Foundation IMEC lab on Tuesday, Dr. Holness explained that in the last 10 years, his administration implemented fiscal reforms to avoid and prevent crises in the face of shocks like Hurricane Melissa. He says good fiscal management and discipline, while important, will not bring about the economic growth needed, however.
Because without growth, then the pressures to break fiscal discipline will grow. In other words, the same public that benefits from the fiscal discipline will say, listen, I can't take the potholes any longer, borrow the money to fix the road. The same public will say, look, the hospitals are in crisis. Don't tell me about fiscal discipline anymore. Go on, borrow the money. Fix the hospitals.
Dr. Holness commended the University of Technology for its lead innovation within the technical niche, as he sees it as an investment in Jamaica's capability and capacity to grow.
What I set out to do was to identify Jamaicans who could become growth champions, opinion leaders, and offer an alternative to the old narratives that exist in our society and our culture. You know, growth is not a policy on paper. Growth is granular in action.
Crystal Williams reporting for CVM News.
Time now for a break. Our live interview comes up next.
Once a month, you have the power to shape Jamaica's future. By paying your hard 3% contribution, you're not just contributing, you're investing in people, in skills, in our economy. Your hard contribution trains working-age Jamaicans, aligns programs with workforce needs, and secures our future. That's not just contribution, it's transformation. Contribute to heart and to your future.
Let's delve deep into the issues. We'll take you beneath the surface.
Greetings and salutations. My name is Orville Higgins and it's another edition of Fan Central.
Talking to the people at the heart of the top sporting stories. Hear from your favorite sportsmen and women and the administrators who work tirelessly to make it all happen. It's a live sports talk.
I've written an entire article.
Yes.
Looking at all the major issues every Tuesday at 9 p.m. It's Fan Central.
Welcome back to CVM News at Noon. The Ministry of Health and Wellness has unveiled Jamaica's National Strategic Plan for HIV, spanning 2023 to 2030, with a bold target of cutting new HIV infections by 40% within the decade. Now, the plan, which was launched on Monday at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel in New Kingston, is aimed at strengthening prevention, treatment, and care while addressing stigma and service gaps. Joining us now, we are joined by Dr. Nicola Skyers, who is the Medical Program Director in the HIV unit within the Ministry of Health. Good afternoon, Dr. Skyers.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. How are you?
So, talk to our viewers. From a public health standpoint, what are the most significant shifts in this 2023 to 2030 plan compared to previous HIV strategies, and why were those changes necessary now?
Okay, so certainly in terms of our most recent strategic plan, we always keep pace with what the World Health Organization would have endorsed as mechanisms for the HIV response. So certainly within this strategic plan, we have integrated new strategies, and we're also trying to bolster previous ones that we know continue to work. So for example, we are trying to establish the use of pre-exposure prophylaxis, which is where you take medication to prevent HIV infection. So that's the latest kid on the block in terms of the World Health Organization, and therefore we have adopted that in country to see how that can help to stem the spread of HIV. We're also looking at HIV self-testing, where persons are able to test themselves outside of our facilities and be able to get that diagnosis and then come into care. So those are two more recent strategies that would have been approved by the World Health Organization, and those are integrated within this current strategic plan.
So the plan, it targets a 40% reduction in new HIV infections by 2030. What specific interventions or program will be most critical in achieving that target, and how exactly will you guys be able to measure this progress?
Okay, so two main areas. One, in terms of pre-exposure prophylaxis that I mentioned before, we still use condoms and lubricants to prevent new infections, but also it is very important for us to increase the number of persons who are living with HIV who are actually on treatment. Because once you are on treatment and you are virally suppressed, there is no transmission to your partner. So it's really two-pronged in terms of the intervention. One, to ensure that persons with HIV are virally suppressed, and also to introduce and scale up PrEP to ensure that persons prevent HIV transmission. And of course, you have to test. We can't intervene without you knowing what your status is. So scaling up testing and the integration of HIV self-testing is key in this process. We do our studies annually, and we're therefore able to do the necessary monitoring to ensure that we're tracking to see that we're going in the right direction.
We've seen recent reports that showed a concerning number of new infections among adolescents and young people. How exactly is the ministry planning to address this?
So certainly in terms of the young people, we are continuing our interventions, and it really is a significant collaboration with the Ministry of Education and with organizations that work with young people to ensure that we are persons have in that age group have adequate knowledge as to how HIV is and is not transmitted, but also to provide the necessary prevention services and treatment services for those who actually are infected. So it's a long-standing problem that, there is early sexual initiation, and therefore we really have to work holistically, not just the Ministry of Health, in terms of ensuring that our young persons are they have adequate information, but also have access to the prevention services that they require.
So looking at the data, we see where HIV prevalence among men who have sex with men has remained close to 30% for decades. What targeted strategies does this new plan introduce to confront this stigma, improve access, and close this service gap that we're seeing for this population?
So I think one of the major things that we have to look at is stigma, as you mentioned. It is, I'm going to say, one of the major issues that we face. And we have worked well within the health sector to reduce stigma against, persons with HIV. And when you look at the data, it is really not within the health sector that most of this stigma is coming from. It's really within the communities. So the engagement with local agencies, with other ministries that work at that level to really work towards reducing the stigma towards persons in that particular population is key, whilst also introducing pre-exposure prophylaxis, as we mentioned before, and also ensuring that men who have sex with men are on treatment and virus suppressed to again reduce transmission risk therein. So it's really a mixture of new strategies, but also just recognizing that stigma and discrimination is a major barrier for access, not only for men who have sex with men, but all the populations and persons who are affected by HIV.
There are roughly 1,400 new cases in 2021, but only fewer than half of those were actually formally diagnosed. What barriers exactly to testing and reporting will this plan address, if at all?
Okay, so the 1,400 that was reported is the estimated number of new infections in country. The 600 plus